Hi guys, Nick here again. So I'm going to be doing something not really a review. This is going to be more of an information on something that I personally like. And it's something that not many people, especially nowadays, seem to have anymore. There are some real diehard fans out there. And I just happened to get into these because it was a cool format when I was young, and it was something that only people that had wealth could buy these. A lot of these, what I'm talking about, of course, are Laserdiscs. Now, Laserdiscs were kind of an expensive format back then, when I was young, and very few people actually had it. But just to give you some idea about what a Laserdisc is, I'm going to actually pull one out in a minute and show you. But a Laserdisc is the first commercial optical disc. So if you think of CDs or Blu-rays or the HD videos, any of those are optical storage. Now, originally when it was created, it was invented by a gentleman, two people, named David Paul Gregg and James Russell, and they first did this in 1958. Well, a company called MCA purchased the rights to license and distribute and everything else in 1968, so 10 years later. Now, what they did was they actually changed it from a transparent disc to a reflective disc, and they were able to produce a storage medium that held between 30 to 60 minutes of video, dependent upon the compression. The earlier discs obviously had issues where you could only record about 30 minutes per side. And I'll show you the disc in a moment. You understand what I mean by per side. Now, the first demonstration of a laser disc to the public was done in 1972. The very first movie was produced 6 years after that in 1978 and was Jaws. The last disc that was in production was in 2001 and the movie was called Tokyo Raiders. Now, they actually continued making the Laserdisc players. Pioneer was the big one at the time, and Pioneer was creating them until approximately 2009. I'm going to pull one out. So when you're handling discs, what you want to do is make sure that you don't touch the disc itself. Now you see this reflective part here, that's what your player actually reads. Sort of like a CD, a Blu-ray, or any of the other ones. So what you want to do is you want to keep your hands off that as much as possible. So what I do is I have fairly large hands, so I can hold it there. Some people have to hold it firmly by the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip this back in here. Oh, one thing is, this disc here is 11.8 inches, which is roughly about the same size as a 12-inch LP, and it's just because of the edging and the other stuff that are included. Now, there was a smaller disc that was created as well. They were less common because they only held about 20 minutes of video, and they were about 4.7 inches. So, nice and care for these things. Just try and keep them in the dust jacket if they're not in the player. Keep them out of direct sunlight, no moisture or anything else. So just use your common sense. I actually have them stacked upright, so there's no way that it will warp. That seems to be another big one. If it's in heat or anything else, because it is essentially plastic, it can warp or mold or some of the other things that do actually occur with these. Scratches are very common, everything else like that. Now then, I've pulled out 2 videos, and what I personally love about Laserdiscs, besides the actual format, is it comes with such a huge canvas, and sometimes they take the whole page and really create something beautiful out of it. Now this is just simply a picture of Kevin Costner. At the time he was more of a heartthrob, so a lot more appeal in that. Now this one opens up. It's a 2-disc set, and it actually looks quite nice. It's nicely laid out. It's very simplistic. Some nice screenshots. And then we come to the back. It has track information. Now, at the time, this was kind of revolutionary because you only had the VHSs and the Betamaxes. So you couldn't really instantaneously jump to the next segment of your video. You'd have to fast forward. Now, you could still fast forward with Laserdiscs, and it was actually kind of a cool feature, but this was actually able to create tracks. So you were able to just jump ahead in the movie. So that's what that looks like. I'm actually going to slip the movie back into here so that we can, so it stays safer. One of my favorite movies growing up, and actually really introduced me to a lot of these big named actors like Sean Connery, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Costner, Christian Slater, and the late Alan Rickman. It also has one of the great quotes, and this is a quote that I like. The sheriff is standing there after Robin Hood escapes, and he's calling out, "Locksley, I'm going to cut your heart out with a spoon." Guy begins over and says, "Why a spoon, cousin? Why not an axe?" The sheriff says, "Because it's dull, you twit. It'll hurt more." Now, personally, I like that line. Worked out well. Oh, one other thing. There was a shower scene. Involved a waterfall. And it actually turns out it wasn't actually Sean Connery. Or, sorry, wasn't actually Kevin Costner. It was actually a body double. Which a lot of people, I'm sure, were a little bit more upset than I. But there was that. Now, the other disc that I have today is Heavy Metal. This was another movie that I loved growing up. Some of you are actually laughing because I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. This was one of those wonderful discs, 1981. It was one of the, it's not really the first. There was a lot of other movies that were cartoons that people viewed more as an adult. A lot of like the Wizards, the Fire and Ice, and that sort of thing. But what was kind of cool is this was based off of a comic magazine by the same name, Heavy Metal. It has featured several of their comic stories, and it had a green glowing orb as the main narrator, and the transition between the stories. It has some of the greatest drawings that I've seen at the time. It was just a wide variety of different stories. Now, one thing that was also kind of interesting is the movie came out in 1981, but it was not released on VHS or Laserdisc or Betamax and the rest until 1996 due to copyright hell from the audio soundtrack. So what people would actually do was they would get the movie and they would broadcast it on TV. So people would actually create pirated copies of the movie. Now, this has actually shown up in other shows have made references to this, like South Park did a whole episode about it. 21 Jump Street, apparently there was a poster, and a few other references that you'll see. Now then, that is the front, and this is what I'm talking about. It's a simplistic artwork, but it's beautifully done. Yeah, and it's not a billfold like the other one. So I'm going to just show you the back here. There's a lot of descriptions about the different segments, the trek, and a few images from screenshots. Now then, one thing I will warn you, if you've never seen it before, there is a lot of nudity, there is a lot of swearing, and there are drug use references throughout the whole thing. So if you're find any offense in that, probably not a good idea to watch it. But the Kevin Costner, the Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, very good movie to watch, and I highly recommend it. One other thing that I am going to show you is more of a warning, is this. It's called Robinson Crusoe on Mars. Now, I am showing you this because I have bought discs from people. I have bought them online and everything else. Now, I bought this one on eBay a little while ago, and it was sealed. And I was very hesitant to open it because it is a Criterion collection, and also it had a really cool thing. It says in the corner, it says, "This film is scientifically authentic. It's only one step ahead of our present reality." Now, I thought that was really kind of cool. So I went to do this segment today, and this felt really light by comparison to everything else. So I ended up opening it up, and I found that somebody had just stuck in a piece of cardboard, and that way it'd be very thick, so good for them. They got me on that one. I'm just putting that out as a warning for you guys. So so for the next little while, I am going to be doing some reviews, some unboxings, some anything else that sort of comes around. I do have other things that I will be reviewing over the next little while. I do like to go out and find more unique and strange items. I have picked up something that's called the 9/11 Emergency Relief. I got this as part of a section of comic books that I picked up at my local store. And this was actually created as a collection of personal non-fiction accounts of people's experiences related to the tragedy. The artwork is quite nice. It really is. There's different stories, there's different authors, there's different artists. It looks great. Now, this book actually was created also with to benefit the American Red Cross. So part of the money that was originally paid for this, going to pay for that, to send help. So I will probably be doing more reviews on these things in depth, so just check them out. And this is really the first little while that I've started creating any of these videos. This is unusual for me because normally I like being behind the camera. So if you have any comments, suggestions, please let me know in the comments section below. In the meantime, alright, see you guys.